So hello everyone and welcome to our weekly broadcast of Hive Talks on Tap. The theme today is From Founder to VC, an investment journey. First of all, for those of you who do not know Hive, we are a global network of female founders who range from project idea to Series A or B all the way to exit. Our purpose is to support women entrepreneurs and to contribute to increasing the volume of investment that goes towards female-funded or company enterprises everywhere in the world. This week, we are really happy to welcome Matilde Giglio, who is principal at the VC firm Hambro. Matilde, thank you very much for joining us today. And would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Matilde Giglio. I'm a principal at Hambro. Before joining Hambro, I was a founder. I founded a machine learning journalism startup. We were using a lot of NLP to analyze news articles. We ran that through seed, Series A, both in the UK and in America. And then I got back to actually be an investor. And the weirdest thing was that Hambro was an investor in my previous company. So now I'm investing with them. So I've been for full circle. So Hambro is a VC company based in London. We also have offices in Berlin and the Middle East. We invest in seed and Series A companies across primarily Europe. Very excited to be here and learn more about your project.
Well, thank you very much for this introduction, Matilde. Well, let's just dive into what you just said. You mentioned that the specificity of Hambro is to invest in early stage tech companies. And for our audience, and I know that among our audience, there are many founders who are at this stage of the development of their projects or company. What is specific about founding at this stage, and what is your experience first as a founder? As you mentioned, you were a founder before becoming an investor, and now as an investor with Hambro.
Yeah, sure. So I think that raising around and investing at seed and Series A is completely different from late stage. So from a founder perspective, I've been there. It's probably the hardest round to raise because you have little traction. It's all about the story at this stage. So are you a great storyteller? Can you tell me what the future looks like with your company in it? Can you portray a picture of why this market, why this product, why this team, etc., can actually change the world and really build a massive company in the space, right? At the same time, from an investor perspective, is again all about the story. And by this, I mean, can I see you, your company, your product become a $1 billion opportunity? Later stage is way more structured, right? So you either have the metrics or you don't. It's more binary. At seed in Series A, it's much more interesting, in my opinion. It's all about what's possible and looking at the future and making your own ideas on it and the things that you want to change and the things you want to see ultimately in the world, right? And you think can scale really fast.
That's super interesting. Thank you very much for that. And I have a question regarding the industries that you focus on, because I know based on your profile and on our previous conversation that you focus on a number of industries, among them fintech and health. And I was wondering, what are your insights regarding this market in the current context? Because basically, the fintech industry and the health industry are going to be some of the industries that are most impacted by what we just went through with the COVID and what is before us, and in terms of development and research as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we as a firm are sector agnostic, meaning we invest in everything besides biotech. So we have a lot of companies in fintech, health tech. We currently, and also my role is actually to also focus, for example, on machine learning, right? And machine learning is incredibly revolutionizing fintech, health tech, and sectors like across the board, right? In a way, we have a specific thesis for all of these sectors that hasn't really changed dramatically during COVID. What has changed, I think, is the way we look at founders. And the things that we look for in founders, right? So first of all, the ability to pivot if necessary. So obviously the world, if the world changes, there are massive opportunities to grasp. Are you able to quickly get them? For example, we have a company called HeyDoc. HeyDoc has pivoted and created a new product providing video conferencing tools for doctors and patients during COVID, right? So are you able to actually do that? Now they're growing really fast. This is what we look for in founders. Number two is the team structure. So because we want flexible companies, we now look much more at the team composition. So do you have a CTO co-founder that can change the product without the need to spend much money towards it, right? Third one is obviously, besides pivoting, some of the things that we look for in companies, especially at Series A's, is the ability to retain customers. So in times of crisis, obviously executives are paid to cut costs, not to innovate. So if you are a B2B company, for example, can you keep your contracts, maybe decreasing the price, because visibilities on revenues over time is one of the most important things right now for VCs. And lastly, I would say, while many VCs put emphasis on growth at all costs, especially previously, now it's much more about the unit economics of the business. Can you build a strong business that can resist hard times? So whereas I would say the thesis that we have in different sectors haven't changed much, obviously, if you look at some sectors, for example, the future of work, now, our thesis has changed, and now it's pretty much on the forefront of the sectors that we look in. But actually, what has changed in the sectors we were already investing in is the way that we look at founders and the team composition and your ability to pivot or retain customers in the long run.
There is something that I really like in what you previously said about the fact that when you're looking at a team, when you're discussing with founders, what you're really looking at is how big an impact the project can have, and how it's going to change the world in the sense of what is the world going to look like when this project is going to be running. In one industry that you know particularly well, the media industry and the consumer tech industry, how do you see some developments that are really going to make the world different than what it is today?
Yeah, so I think media is at an incredibly interesting point right now. Realistically, one of the main drivers of it is the fact that all of us can be creators, right? Creators of content, creators of education, or whatever that is. But platforms that enable people to make a living out of their passions is definitely a trend that we are looking very closely into, and is something that I think will literally could drive the economy, right? So as we've seen it so far in the gig economy, in platforms like such as Uber, but actually I think that massive opportunities are going to come when it comes to the creative industries and people that actually sell their values online, and how we can help them monetize it correctly and efficiently. If you look at companies like Substack and many others, you can see actually this trend. It's already emerging, and it would just increase over time, especially in times of crisis. The platforms that really are going to execute that vision and make it possible for people to work flexibly, do exactly what they're passionate about, and gather a community that supports them are definitely going to be winners, in my opinion. So when it comes to media.
We have we like to ask our guests some very spontaneous questions.
Yeah.
So if I may, and I'm sure our listener will be excited to hear about that. What did you want to do when you were 6 years old, when you were little, when you were a kid?
I wanted to be the president of Italy, which is absolutely a signal of me being out of my mind, possibly at 6 years old. So yeah, I wanted to get into politics, actually. I've always been interested in just the possibility of making and having a huge impact in the world, I think, since I was really little. I then realized, I think, in university when I was studying actually political science. So I don't come from a very traditional background, a BC background or whatever, but actually I come from a political science background. after I did business. But yeah, so basically I wanted to do that. I then realized that the big changes in the world are actually realized by business people, and just businesses overall can have a massive impact in the world in a much more confined time frame than politics. Politics it's fantastic, but it has a lot of problems in terms of your ability to execute on a vision, because there are so many stakeholders, etc. Businesses, if they are right and if they can do actually great things, they can do it in an incredibly short period of time and can completely change the way we live our lives, right? This is one of the reasons why I believe that consumer businesses are possibly the most exciting ones, because when you can see your product in the hands of people around you, that's just an unimaginable feeling that I felt myself, obviously in a small manner, but scale is amazing.
Absolutely, supporting this vision and this path from having a vision and putting it in action. Definitely, very, very, very exciting. That ties to basically your journey going from founder to VC. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because again, most of our audience are founders at various stages, and some of them are also investing, not necessarily as business angels. And how was what drove you to join Hambro Perks, and what did you learn from this journey?
Yeah, so first of all, it's worth mentioning that I had never thought that I would end up in venture capital. So I always thought that I would just be a founder forever, basically. I think one of the things that I have realized is actually that the thing I love the most is working with founders, not necessarily me, myself, being a founder. In terms of what I've learned, because I've been a founder, I think, obviously there are two things primarily. One is the experience. So I've been through it. I have acquired customers. I have fundraised. I've learned so many lessons and made so many mistakes that I think can be extremely valuable for a founder starting out to just get an insight on. And the second one is empathy, right? So I know how you're feeling. I know how it feels to be rejected. I know how it feels to not take a salary for a year. I know how it feels to fly all across the world for a meeting to be rescheduled. And I think this helps me really kind of see the things that happen from the founder perspective, and really be focused on their needs and the things that they want to achieve. I think for anybody that wants to be a founder, being a VC should be compulsory for at least 6 months, because the things that I've learned I would have never imagined. So, for example, the amount of deals that I get every single day, right, and how hard it is to stand out on a mail system of a venture capitalist is actually really, really hard, because there is so much competition, and the way you should portray yourself, and what are the things that really investors look for in terms of the size of the opportunity, how to portray your market in a way that is compelling, etc. All these things are essential for a founder, and unfortunately they can't be learned unless you spend some time in a VC. So actually I would make it compulsory. Sorry.
I think it ties back to the relationship between basically the VCs and the companies that you are invested in, because VCs are not only about investing money. You're also a coach to the companies that you are investing in, and you also support them and building up. I think that's one of the reasons why your experience as a founder must be so interesting to relate to when supporting these companies.
Yes, absolutely, right. So I think the way that you should look for a VC is the way that you look for a partner for a very long time, right? So the first thing that you should look for is personal connection. This is more important than a great firm, in my opinion. So it's to pick the right partner in your journey, right? So on a personal level, do you want to WhatsApp her or him when something goes wrong? It's like a marriage at the end. So you work with them for a very, very, very long time. and you need to be working with somebody that you trust, first of all, and also that you think you can learn a lot from. So these are the two most important things. And the second one is the level of support, right? So obviously my operational experience helps me a lot when I speak to founders, because I know what early stage founders need to achieve and what they go through. But for example, because I've been a founder, I was able to build a platform within Hambro Perks that helps founders with a lot of different things. For example, the first one is hiring, the second one is growth, networking, and fundraising, right? Because obviously these are all very important things. And the main question that we try to answer is, how can we basically build processes that can help founders scale their company faster on all these different areas. So you need to also ask yourself, has this VC actually thought about how to help me operationally to get to my next fundable milestone? And yes, and is the partner within that firm really a good fit for me and my company?
Is it common for VCs to go as far as you went with Hambro Perks in building up a platform and basically providing entrepreneurs and founders the resources that they would find in, let's say, an incubator or an accelerator? Is that common for VC, or is that very specific to Hambro Perks?
Look, I think actually there has been a trend of providing this kind of services, especially over the last two years. There are more VCs that are doing this. I still think it's not very common, but it is growing for certain. I think actually, like, the business for a VC in and of itself is to differentiate himself and from the others, and in order for us to do that, it's really important to actually provide additional value. So the platform is one way where we deliver value. Another one is obviously the capabilities and the strength of the team in and of itself within the investment firm. And yes, like anything we can do to provide additional value to founders, it's great, because obviously cash is there. And what we want to be chosen for is because of the support that we provide and because of who we are, right, as a firm, and the skill set that we have internally. And this is why founders choose us, right? It's not just the cash, because the cash can be found elsewhere for sure.
I love that you say that, because indeed there is the volume of money that is available today in the world is just humongous.
Yeah.
There is no shortage of money to be invested in good projects. So I really like everything that you said about building relationships, and that it's really like, as much as a founder should think about the association, who do I build up my business with, thinking the same way, applying the same mindset to choosing your investors is, I think, extremely important. I really like the focus that the fact that you highlight this point, because it's very easy when you actually, especially as you are saying, early stages, you need the money. You need the money to keep your business running, to keep it growing. So you don't normally think about, okay, do I want to do business with these people, and do I want to grab a beer with this person at the end of the day after we've run through all the figures and the data and everything?
So it's really interesting. I absolutely agree with you. I think my mindset has changed recently, because when I was a founder, obviously the main priority you have is to survive, right? So let's get the money, let's just run with it, and let's survive as long as possible. The reality is you don't want to survive as a founder. You shouldn't, at least, right? But what you should want is to be successful and to achieve your mission, right? And in order for you to do that, you don't need just the seed round or the Series A and just some money in the bank. What you need is people that can help you make your vision come true, right? And people that have skills that probably you don't have, so that are quite complementary to yours. You need to be able to rely on them. You need to be able to have like some level of competitive unfair competitive advantage against your competition, and all of these things an investor can provide, and a good investor, right? And obviously there aren't just good investors and bad investors, but good investors for your business, for your vision, for who you are, etc. So I think actually, besides just raising capital, and I know it's hard because I've been there, but another main thing that founders should think about is this person actually gonna help me achieve my goal and this firm, right?
Would you say that it's important for VC to really care about the projects that they are that you are looking at?
100%. I don't know how people can, and I don't think investors do, right? I don't think investors invest in things they don't care about. I think to a more broad extent, or a smaller extent, but you definitely need to be passionate about what the founder is building. You definitely need to buy the thesis, because otherwise you wouldn't put so much effort into all the due diligence and all the help and all the activities around it. I feel that as a founder, you need to take the money from people that actually buy in your vision and buy your product and what you're trying to achieve, because that makes everything easier, right? That makes work not work. It makes like something really enjoyable. It makes you actually reply to WhatsApps on Sunday nights, which obviously all of us do all the time, and just spend so much time with the founder, because actually, besides the uplift in the valuation, which is obviously really important for a firm, you're making things happen in the world, and that's even more exciting in a way.
Do you have a favorite entrepreneur? Somebody you really look up to?
As entrepreneurs, I mean, I've got many. I tend to actually think a lot about sports people. So, Simona Williams, or, Roger Federer, etc. Like, I think that sports, first of all, I think sports are amazing. I do a lot of sport. I think that it really teaches you so much in terms of endurance and resisting hard times, and just the level of commitment and work that these people need to go through. I think it's amazing, and it's really inspiring. So I think, when I think about who I want to become or who I would like to be, is somebody like them. Even devoting your entire life, but to ultimately do what you want to do and win.
There is one thing that you mentioned also with a lot of passion in the way you present yourself, especially when you talk about your commitment to the deal flow at Hambro Perks, is what really struck me is how much you highlight how little importance how little attention you pay to what degrees the founders might have, or what school they have attended, or who they might know, or what is their social background. It's still something, I think, as an industry, startups, VCs, BAs, whatever, we still have to fight against, because we tend to find ourselves way too often with peers. We went all to the same schools, we have the same background, and as much as we can put diversity in everywhere, basically, in the tech industry or in the investment business, and well, the better the world will be, because that will bring up innovation and new ideas, and also more inclusive products and businesses. How do you think that we can push this point? Because you mentioned it's important for you as a person and also as an investor. How can we push it at the industry level?
Yeah, this is absolutely right, and something I think about a lot. As you've mentioned, I think the first thing that I do on a personal level is obviously making it a really important decision factor, right? Like, for example, I would have never joined Hambro if they were not a diverse team. So we have in our team like people from different, obviously different gender, different background, different even just geographies, right? And this is really important because that means that our team is really efficient and always innovative and always thinking about what's next. And it's just a more pleasant place to be around, right? Obviously, there are many things that we can do. We can hire more female investors, right? As a sector in general, we can hire more people from diverse backgrounds, etc. We can promote new initiatives. For example, the one that we did recently, office hours for female founders, in collaboration with many other players in the market. That was a great initiative. Obviously, these things will all bring us closer to the end goal. But I think that ultimately, and this is something that I've realized since I moved from founder to VC, it's ultimately a cultural matter, right? So because I cared so much about actually diversity and female founders, etc., I actually did an analysis of my email inbox. And I found that this was an analysis over 3 months, right? Over 3 months, and 96% of the cold emails that I got were from male founders. So this actually shows how culturally, intrinsic it is, this problem, right? So female founders feel less confident in sending a cold email. Apparently, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't receive 96%. And even though I want to make a change, it's hard, right? Because at the end of the day, I just get 4% of my emails are from female founders. So ultimately, I am meeting more male founders than female founders, right? So it's obviously about education. So making sure that female, the girls in schools know that this is a possibility in their future. It's about then just changing the culture around confidence when it comes to fundraising, etc., and promoting new initiatives, right? So hiring more female investors, which obviously will help. Hiring, investing more in female founders. I'm very proud that when I was running my company, we had 50%, although it was a machine learning company. So you can imagine how hard also on that side, right? How hard it was to hire a machine learning engineer that was a female machine learning engineer, because the extra majority of engineers are male, which is another problem. But I was proud to work in a company which had 50% female male gender balance. Now I'm happy to work in an investment firm that keeps backing female founders all the way. I think we have 40%, so we're not where we want to be, but we are almost there in terms of the gender balance between founders, and we're working to make it even better. And I think it ultimately will take time, but it's something that we all need to kind of strike towards, because otherwise we will also miss great opportunities, right? To back amazing companies. Like, even if we think about it pragmatically, this is a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. At global macroeconomic level, if we don't invest in companies that are run by a female team, which now we have enough figures to show that they are profitable, and they can, the more diverse management team and the higher the performance and the return will be on this project. So as you are saying, it's a huge missed opportunity if we don't invest in these companies that are actually some of them are some of the most profitable in their industry. I think it's an important message that you just got across to our audience, is to pass on this message to female founders all over the world, that we are in a favorable context. In a sense that the money is there, and the mindset is there as well, to welcome projects that are being presented by female team.
Absolutely. And not just from us, but from everybody in the industry. I think there's genuinely an interest in making the sector better. So yes, please, if you're a female founder or thinking about becoming a female founder, please just do, and things will come your way if you put a lot of effort into it, and and your project is something you really believe in. I'm sure there are plenty of opportunities for you now, way better than before.
There are a lot of initiatives, and even if the figures are still not there, and over 90% of the money that is being invested in the world is directed to male-funded company. It is indeed important for women to understand that they can feel safe in the investment world right now. It is welcoming.
Yes, absolutely.
It is welcoming. What are the things that you are most excited about at the moment regarding the current investment environment?
I mean, the most interesting thing is actually, if you see historically, the biggest companies with massive impact have been founded during a recession, right? So with the crisis that we are currently all under, and we've all witnessed, there are massive opportunities for companies to be fundamentally in the change and in the crisis in and of itself, and really shape the world for the better and reshape it, right? Because in periods of crisis, it's common to actually change things much more rapidly. If you see, for example, what happened with education, what happened with remote work, etc. These are all trends that have and healthcare. Healthcare primarily. These are all trends that have accelerated dramatically because of the crisis. And if you see, again, historically, the biggest companies that have been funded in a period of crisis. This makes this one of the most interesting periods ever to invest in companies and to build a company. So this is what I'm most excited about. Maybe in terms of what I think we should focus on a little bit more is making this whole shift and this massive opportunity more inclusive to people that don't come from traditional backgrounds, that are, for example, female founders, etc., to make it much more inclusive than it is today and it was before, especially.
Well, thank you very much. It's extremely valuable to our audience. I'll just ask you two quick last questions. The first one is, what is the last thing that made you laugh?
The last thing that made me laugh, I think yesterday I tried to. This is completely not related to venture capital. The last thing that made me laugh is that yesterday I tried to make a salmon and it burnt entirely, and not only the salmon itself but the entire house. So I am officially not a chef and not Italian, apparently, because that would be my main characteristic. But not working out.
Yeah, as an Italian person, I think as European, we are expected to know how to cook, which is not always
exactly.
the case. I completely agree. And finally, what is your favorite cartoon?
My favorite cartoon has always been Winnie the Pooh. I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. I think it just sometimes when I'm really stressed, I think of Winnie the Pooh, and I just realize that everything is fine and chilled.
And everything will be okay in the end. Absolutely.
Everything will be okay. Yeah.
I think it's a great message to keep in mind when you're founding a company, and basically right now, and especially because there are a lot of people who actually have great ideas and great projects who are actually embarking on the journey of becoming a founder now, and remembering that sometimes you just need to wait a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and things will unlock, and the money of the project will run.
Absolutely.
Well, Matilde, it was a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. And